Hello and welcome to this unboxing. This package just arrived within the last hour, so I think I know what's in it. We should probably open it up and see if I was right. Alright, what have we got in here? Beans! Lots and lots of packing beans. Oh, there it is. There's something orange down there. Here it comes. Unearthed from the beans. Alright, I'll just put that over there. Alright, what have we got? I ordered this the other day because I wanted to have a look. This is the 2023 starter set for the World of Tanks miniatures game. This uses the same miniatures as Flames of War and Team Yankee from Battlefront, but in a more beer and pretzel sort of a game. So I ordered this. The game itself is fun. I have played both Tanks and the later World of Tanks miniatures game, but what I wanted this one for is it's got some new vehicles in. So I'm not going to do an unboxing of this. Modelling for Advantage with the Kaiser and Johnny B have done a very good unboxing of this product. What I want to do is have a look at some of the miniatures. So join me and we'll have a look at some of the miniatures that are coming up. Here's the plastic inside the World of Tanks 2023 starter set. A German Mk.I Heavy Tank, US T29 Heavy Tank, a Soviet IS-3 Heavy Tank, and a Centurion Mk.I Heavy Cruiser Tank. In case you're not familiar with the World of Tanks miniatures game, it's a tank skirmish game from Gale Force 9, Battlefront's parent company. The game uses Battlefront's plastic miniature range, with a simple, fast-paced beer and pretzels rule set. The second edition of the game has partnered with World of Tanks. Given the World of Tanks game uses Battlefront's kits, these post-war prototype and paper kits have implications for post-war Flames of War and Checkpoint Charlie. It makes no sense to spend the significant money to model these tanks in plastic and not utilise them in Battlefront's other IPs. Let's look at the individual vehicles from the set. Here's the German Panzerkampfwagen 8 Mk.I Heavy Tank. This kit is enormous. Here's a Battlefront King Tiger for scale. The kit looks fine. Detail is a bit limited because the vehicle only existed as prototypes, with the program terminated in 1943. It's just a big slab of metal, but there's plenty of engine deck grille detail on the upper hull. I am interested to see there's no fuel drums on the rear of the hull. These were a prominent feature on the prototypes. The sprue shots I've seen in the sneak peek video I posted a few months ago shows the external tanks on the sprue. They're just not in this pre-built version from the starter set. World of Tanks miniatures come pre-base coated. The German colour for World of Tanks miniatures is Panzer Grey. Of course, this is incorrect for a late war vehicle like Mk.I, but nothing a quick repaint can't fix. Having a Mk.I in plastic really adds credibility to the rumours that Battlefront will branch Flames of War out past the end of World War II. The drive for these post-war prototype and paper panzers is clearly being driven by the World of Tanks franchise, but the cost of plastic injection moulding these kits means it needs to work outside that game. It makes sense for Battlefront to find a way to roll these into Flames of War. Maybe as a late war Leviathan-style product or wildcards. We might get some details of their future plans in Battlefront's upcoming Christmas message. We did get a sneak peek at the plastic mouse sprue at Adepticon this year. Let's have a look back at what I said about that. The Panzerkampfwagen 8 Mk.I was a super heavy German tank design. Only 2 prototype hulls were ever completed, and only one of these received a turret. Weighing more than 180 tons and being over 10 metres long, Maus was a monster. Maus is essentially a paper panzer, with production cancelled in mid-1944. However, testing of the prototypes continued until both were captured by the advancing Russians in 1945. Maus's big boxy shape is apparent from the kit, as is its size. It looks like the hull sides and suspension are all a single piece. The track run is separate, unusual for a Battlefront plastic kit, but it's not a full track run, just the visible portion is modelled. There seems to be plenty of engine, deck and grille detail on the upper hull. The turret is also huge, with an open commander's hatch option. The 12.8cm main gun and the 7.5cm coaxial gun are moulded as a single piece. For such a huge tank, the kit has relatively few parts. I can't wait to build it. Next up is T29. This is one of several American heavy tank designs intended to counter heavy German armour in World War II. Again, the model is a nice one, but huge. The pre-assembled kit lacks a commander's machine gun, although there seems to be a pintle mount for one, so I'd guess there's one on the kit sprue. T29 mounts a 105mm gun, and the T30 is essentially the same vehicle, but with a 155mm gun. I'll be very interested to see if Battlefront included the larger gun on the sprue to allow you to build both tanks. We haven't seen the sprue for this kit, so it's hard to say more at this stage. Even before the M3 Lee and M4 Sherman entered service, US Ordnance knew heavier tank designs would be required. From 1940 onwards, there were a number of programs and prototypes developed. The only vehicle from these programs to enter service during the war was the M26 Pershing. The T28, T29 and T30 heavy and super heavy programs started in 1944. T29 and T30 were conventional tank designs, while the T28 was a super heavy turretless assault tank. T29 used the drivetrain and a lengthened hull derived from the T26 E3 Pershing, fitted with a more powerful 750 horsepower Ford GAC engine. Crew is 5 men, a driver and radio operator in the hull, and a commander, gunner and 2 loaders in the turret. Armour was up to 100mm on the hull, sloped at 54 degrees, and 280mm on the front of the turret. This gave T29 an empty weight of about 60 tons. Armament was either a T5E1 or T5E2 105mm rifled gun, using 2-part ammunition. The muzzle velocity of about 3,000 feet per second gave good penetration. Design work started in 1944, with a proposed procurement of 1,200 vehicles. However, the end of the war saw the order cancelled after only one prototype had been completed. Eventually, 8 vehicles were built for testing. While T29 was too late to see service in World War II, lessons learned from this design went on to be used in the M103, a 1950s-era heavy tank. The M103 is also scheduled to come out in plastic for the World of Tanks miniatures game in 2024. While the T29 and Maus were prototypes, that's not true of all kits in the starter set. Case in point is the IS-3 for the Soviets. This is definitely not a paper panzer. More than 2,000 of these were built, with some examples still believed to be in service today. Pro-Russian rebels reactivated an IS-3 memorial in Donetsk in 2014, and North Korea are rumoured to still operate a small number of this type. This new plastic kit looks nice. Given the IS-3 was in service in time for the 1945 post-war victory parade, it's a good candidate for any post-war Flames of War sourcebook that might come along. It's also useful for Fate of a Nation, serving with Egyptian forces, and suitable for any potential Checkpoint Charlie era early Team Yankee too. This kit has the ring for the Commander's MG fitted, but doesn't have the gun. Again, this sprue was unveiled at Adepticon, and it looks like there's a 12.7mm machine gun with this kit. Let's see what I said about the IS-3 then. Sticking to the just post-war theme, here's the IS-3. This is definitely not a paper panzer. This Soviet heavy tank was a development of the IS series, and was the first to feature the domed frying pan turret that became a feature of post-war Russian tanks. Although more than 2,000 IS-3s would ultimately be built, it arrived too late to see action in the Second World War. However, it did feature heavily in the post-war victory parade. Looking at the Sprue, the first thing that struck me was the two sets of hull sides. Early IS-3s had smooth sides, while the later 1946 production vehicles had internal stowage bins added. I'm guessing both variants can be built from this kit. The shape of the rounded, teardrop-shaped turret is captured, along with the pointed front hull that gave rise to the IS-3's nickname, the Pike. Again, this looks like a pretty simple kit, but with enough engineering to allow things like the optional hull side pieces. But if you look at the turret, there's plenty of detail like the hatches and grab rails represented. The IS-3 will work with any post-45 Flames of War content that comes along, but also with Fate of a Nation and Checkpoint Charlie too. Finally, that brings us to the Centurion. This plastic kit is already available in Team Yankee, coming out for the Swedes and the Danes. However, in the starter box, this is built as the earliest Centurion Mk.I, with the 17-pounder gun and coaxial 20mm cannon. Centurion is a very versatile kit, with options from 1945 like the Mk.I, all the way to the Team Yankee timeline and beyond. The kit has 5 different main gun options, 2 engine decks, and 4 different machine guns. There's even ERA. All of these options mean Centurion is suitable for a 1946 type post-war setting, Checkpoint Charlie in the Cold War, Fate of a Nation in the Middle East, Vietnam with Australia, and through to Team Yankee. If there's ever a Bush Wars covering Africa, or a Korean War expansion for the game system, Centurion will fit right in there too. In all, nearly 4,500 Centurions of all marks were built. I haven't done a full review of the plastic Centurion kit yet, but here's the history section from my Centurion Mk.V review for NAMM. Let's look at some history. Centurion was designed at the end of the Second World War, just too late to see service. Designated the A41, Centurion was a development of the Cruiser series, with some similarities to Comet. The design introduced sloped armour to British tanks, increasing the effective armour thickness. The Mk.I was armed with a 17-pounder main gun, with a 20mm Polston cannon in a flexible mounting beside it. This was changed to a Beezer machine gun in the Mk.II. Centurion was fitted with the new 20-pounder 84mm gun as it became available. Suspension was a Horstman type with 3 sets of double bogies on each side. The ride quality was worse than the Christie suspension of earlier cruiser designs, but took up less room in the hull and was easier to maintain. Production began in November 1945, with the more powerful Mk.III starting production in 1948. Centurion saw extensive combat in Korea in the late 1950s, and Operation Musketeer in the Suez in 1956. Australia was one of the first foreign adopters of Centurion, although delivery was delayed until 1952 because of the Korean War. Australia received the Mk.III with 20-pounder guns, but the original 7.92mm small arms were replaced with 30-calibre Browning machine guns. Initially not deployed to Vietnam with the 1st Australian Task Force, in 1967 a number of tanks were upgraded to Mk.V spec prior to deployment in theatre. Modifications included adding applique armour to the glacis plate, a 50-calibre ranging machine gun, new sights and an infrared night fighting system. C Squadron 1st Armoured Regiment deployed in February 1968. Centurion proved well suited to operating in the jungle and rice paddy areas in the Australian AO, and provided valuable support to the infantry and APCs. Centurions quickly proved their worth in May 1968 at the Battle of Coral and Balmoral. Firing canister and machine guns in support of 3 RAR, Centurions helped beat back a number of determined attacks over several days. The tank's armour proved resistant to RPGs that would have destroyed lighter vehicles. Their performance dispelled any initial misgivings about working with tanks held by Australian infantry commanders. Thereafter, the tanks, APCs and troops cooperated closely until 1st Armoured Regiment was withdrawn in 1971. So, I think these kits suggest some interesting times ahead for Flames of War, Team Yankee and other Battlefront games. The IS-3 and Centurion saw extensive service, and even a mouse trundled out to seek combat. But including a prototype T29 in the set strongly signals a change in direction from Battlefront's mainly historical focus. There's already plenty of other kits already announced for World of Tanks. Some of the planned releases are historical, like Conqueror for the British and M48 and M103 for the US, but others like the IS-7, E100, T95 Doom Turtle and the Rheinmetall Scorpion only existed as prototypes or blueprints. The focus on what-if vehicles is a staple of the World of Tanks online game, so it's on brand to see it reflected in the miniatures game as well. However, if, as I suspect, these kits do flow on into Battlefront's other games, this is a significant shift of focus. I know Team Yankee has included a few what-ifs, and Flames of War has rolled out the mid-war monsters as wildcards, but these World of Tanks releases presage taking that a lot further. Now this is a lot of speculation on my part. I'm assuming these kits will find their way into Battlefront's other games. The economics of plastic injection moulding makes that a pretty safe bet. Moulds are expensive, and the World of Tanks sales alone probably won't recoup the investment. Plus there have been previous announcements of Checkpoint Charlie as an early theatre for Team Yankee, and of post-1945 Flames of War options for a while now, so those game options are a pretty safe bet too. I suspect Pete Seminovich's upcoming Christmas message video will address these, amongst other things. Personally, I lean to the historical in my wargaming. Hopefully including these speculative designs in the game will be done in a way that offers them as an option, but doesn't force players with a historical focus to try and field late-war Shermans against a mouse-based panzer company. Like good sex, good wargaming needs to be fun for everyone involved. If tournaments turn into historical players being ruffle-stomped by super heavy tanks someone found sketched on a napkin in Hitler or Stalin's bedroom, that might suck. But I think Battlefront won't take that approach, and tournament organisers can play a part in that too. I don't want to sound negative. I'm really looking forward to the varied and unusual tank designs we're going to get to see in plastic. And again, the purpose of this video was mainly to give you a look at the new kits included in the World of Tanks starter set. Hopefully you've enjoyed it, and I've managed to share some of my excitement at the upcoming releases. If you're a World of Tanks player, this might not have been the starter set review you were hoping for. If you want a more conventional unboxing, let me know in the comments. Or check out the Restless Kaiser and Johnny B's unboxing on Modelling for Advantage. Link in the description below. Thanks for watching. See you next time.